Alright, this is the Module 5 test review. This is the second video. This is page 136. I think we're going to try most of these problems. Some of them get kind of tricky. I'll help you as best I can. But we'll basically fill up one video and see how far we can get. So we are going to do the first few though. Number 1 reads, Delia has 493 stamps in her stamp collection. She could put 16 stamps on each page of an album. How many pages can she fill completely? That is going to be a clue on how to round a little bit later. 493 divided by 16 looks like this. 16 goes into 49 3 times, because 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. 3 times 16 is 48. While you won't be allowed to use a calculator on the test, you will be able to use a multiplication chart. 49 minus 48 is 1. Bring down this 3. 16 cannot go into 13, so you have to put 0 here. 0 times 16 is 16. So we have a remainder. So the answer is about 30. Now I could do a decimal if I wanted to, and say how many times does 16 go in 130, but we don't really need to do that because it says how many pages can she fill completely. Well, if I do 30 times 16, 3 times 16 is 480, or 48, and then bring the 0 down to 480. If she had a 31st page, it would be 496. That's not how many stamps she has. So the answer is A, 30 complete pages. Alright, let's move on. Sumit uses 0 4/10 gallon of gasoline each hour mowing lawns. How much gas does he use in 4.2 hours? What kind of problem is this? If you think about it, it says he uses 0.4 gallons of gas each hour. So if you did it like this, and this is not the way to solve it, but I just want you to get you to understand what kind of problem this is. If you did it like this, 0.4 gallons for 1 hour plus 0.4 gallons for 2 hours plus 0.4 gallons for 3 hours, we could add them up, or we could just multiply. So this is a multiplication problem. It's not division. If you looked at that and thought division, you're backwards. It's multiplication. So I'm going to do 4.2 times 0.4. And that's really the same thing as 42 times 4. 4 times 2 is 8. And 4 times 4 is 16. So I get 168, but then I got to move my decimal over 1, 2 spots. 1, 2 spots. So the answer is 1 and 68 hundredths. The answer is A, 1 and 68 hundredths. Right, let's move on. Number 3. Sharon spent $3.45 on sunflower seeds. The price of sunflower seeds is 89 cents per pound. How many pounds of sunflower seeds did Sharon buy? This one is division. 345 divided by 89 cents. And before we start dividing, we have to multiply our divisor by a power of 10. So we're going to multiply it by 100, which is the same thing as moving the decimal 2 places to the right. So we're going to multiply the dividend by 100, and that's the same thing as moving that decimal 2 places to the right. And now I've got, how many times is 89 going to 345? I think it's 3. If I rounded this to 90 cents and multiplied it by 4, it'd be 360, which would be a little bit too high. So I'm going to try 3, and I think I'm just going to do it right here. 89 times 3. 27. 24, 26, and that's a little less, but I think, I'm telling you, I think 4 is too high. So I'm going to try 3. And that goes here, and I want to tell you why it goes here. The 3 doesn't go here because 89 doesn't go into 3 times. 89 doesn't go into 34 3 times. 89 goes into 345 3 times. So 3 times 89 is 267. And I think I'm going to get a rather large remainder, but it's going to be smaller than 89, and that's what's going to count. So I need to borrow carefully. Got 15 minus 7 is 8. I can't do 3 minus 6, so I got to borrow again, make it 13. Minus 6 is 7. And 78 is less than 89, which means I did it correct, because 2 minus 2 is 0. So now I need to annex a 0 and keep dividing. My decimal goes here. Let's go look at our answers, by the way. 3 point. That's 2 good options right there. So I think we will I think we'll keep going. I think we're on the right track. That's a way to use multiple choice to make sure you're on the right track. How many times does 89 go into 780? I'm thinking 8 or 9, but I'm not sure, so I'm going to have to guess and check. I think 9 would be too high, so I'm going to try 8. Well, it could be 9. I'm not sure. Try 8. 8 times 9 is 72. 8 times 8 is 64. Plus 7 is 71. And that looks to be right, so I'm going to put an 8 here. 8 times 89 is 712. And I need to borrow. 10 minus 2 is 8. 7 minus 1 is 6. No, let's see, I needed to borrow. 10 minus 2 is 8. And I borrowed to make it 10, so 7 minus 1 is 6. And something doesn't seem right there. I'm going to go back and... you cannot do... Let me make sure this is right. 8 times 2 is 72. 8 times 8 is 64. Plus 1 is 71. That seems right. It's okay. I'll get it. I think it's going to be a rounding issue. So I'm going to borrow here, make this 7 and make this 10. 10 minus 2 is 8, and 7 minus 1 is 6, and annex and drop this 0. And how many times does 89 go into 680? And I'm actually not sure, but I could guess maybe about 7. Because 8's too high, so I'm going to do 89 times 7. 7 times 6, or 7 times 9 is 63. 7 times 8 is 56. Plus 6 is 7 times 8 is 56, plus 6 is 62. So I'm going to say 7 times 89 is 623. I'm going to go ahead and stop there. Whatever I'm going to get here is going to round up. If I get a high number here, it's going to round this up to 388, and that's our only option. It's going to be B, 388. So that is how you can use multiple choice to make sure you're on the right track, getting the right answers. All right, let's move on. Number 4. How many 0 and 4/10 liter glasses of water does it take to fill up a 3 and 4/10 liter pitcher of water? That is 3 and 4/10 divided by 0 and 4/10. Before you can divide decimals, you have to multiply the dividend by a power of 10 to make it a whole number. Whatever you do to the divisor, you have to do to the dividend. So the dividend and the divisor each get multiplied by 10, which means move the decimal one place to the right. 4 goes into 34 8 times, because 8 times 4 is 32. 34 minus 32 is 2. 4 goes into 20 5 times. 5 times 4 is 20. 20 minus 20 is 0. The answer is 8 and 5/10. The answer is D. We're going to skip number 5. We're going to move on. Alright, let's check out number 6. I think we're going to run out of time, so we're not going to do every problem here, but number 6 is definitely one I want to do. It's a multi-step division of whole numbers problem. Nelson Middle School raises $19,950 on ticket sales for its carnival fundraiser last year at $15 per ticket. If the school sells the same number of tickets this year but charges $20 per ticket, how much money will the school make? Well, we don't know how many tickets they sold, so that the first step is to figure out how many tickets they sold. And to figure out how many tickets they sold, you take the amount of money they raised and divide by the price. So last year, they raised $19,950, and the tickets were $15 a piece. Now this is going to be an easy division problem if you have a multiplication chart. 19 divided by 15 is 1. 49 divided by 15 is 3. 3 times 15 is 45. 45 goes into 15 goes into 45 3 times. And 15 goes into 0 0 times. My decimal's out here, so the answer is 1,330. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try and put that into context. What is 1,330? That's the number of tickets they sold last year. So let's reread the second part of the question. If the school sells the same number of tickets this year but charges $20 per ticket, how much money will the school make? That means this number times 20. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to ignore the two zeros, and I'm going to do 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times 1 is 2, annex this 0 and annex this 0. And this year they're going to make $26,600. The answer is C. Okay, I think we have time to do number 7, and then that might be the end. Number 7 reads, Carrie walks her dog every morning. The length of the walk is 0 and 55 kilometers on each weekday. And then it talks about the weekend days, and then I'll read that in a minute. And at the end it says how many kilometers does Carrie walk in 1 week. So one thing we need to do is figure out how far she walks her dog on the weekdays. So it's 0 and 55 hundredths on each weekday. Well, there's 5 weekdays, so I'm going to do 0 and 55 hundredths times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 5 is 25, plus 2 is 27. And then I'm going to move my decimal over twice. So on the weekdays, she walks her dogs 2 and 75 hundredths. On the weekend, and there's 2 of those, but on the weekend, the walk is 1.4 times as long. So what I need to do now is I need to multiply the weekday walk times 1.4. Don't worry about those decimals being aligned. We're basically going to do 55 times 14. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 2 is 22. Before I start multiplying in the tens place, I put a 0. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 0 is 0. I don't have to put that. 0, 7, 7, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So on a weekend day, she walks her dog 0 and 77. I can drop this 0. And there are 2 of those. So I'm going to multiply that by 2. Because I've got a Saturday and a Sunday. 2 times 4 is 14. 2 times 4 is 14, plus 1 is 15. And this would count over 1, 2, 1, 2. So that's the weekend. So now what I need to do is add up the weekend days to the weekdays, and I'll get my total. 9, 12, 4, decimal comes straight down. 429 is C. Alright, we are out of time, so we'll skip number 8, but that is okay. You have prepared enough for this test. You are now ready for the Module 5 test. Good luck.